You know, the other day I was sitting in the front room and I was watching the NFL playoff game, and I seen this commercial, and the commercial featured two Afro-American children. They were in the house. They were playing around this bed. There's a bunk bed set, and I guess something had went wrong with the bunk bed set to where it needed repair and it needed to be fixed. So they go and open the door once they hear the doorbell ring, and lo and behold, there's a white man as the grandfather. Now, typically what we see is the commercials, they're bludgeoning us with an agenda of white men and black women. And it's reversed as well, too. I see a few of them with black men with white women. But this real serious agenda of black women and white men is really getting out of control. Now, here's the thing. Understand this. I do understand that the world has changed. I understand that, you know, the world is not like it was yesterday. You have same gender couples. I have no issue with that. You have interracial couples, black and white. I have no issue with that. Or you have couples of different ethnicities, not always just particularly black and white. But when there's no balance, I start to have an issue and a problem with that. And I always talk about Netflix and a lot of the major streaming platforms where you never, ever see a hued man of color in America, in a role of leadership, intelligence, attractive, in shape, fit, kick ass. You typically seen a lot of these movies in the 70s, which gave us a lot of pride. Now, people say it's just entertainment. It's no big deal. Music is music. Movies are movies. Listen, you are what you eat. The first diet that's most important and critical is the diet that you're eating mentally. And then I went and watched Fast and Furious, and I look at the same old narrative of, you know, a lighter or white guy being the leader, being the brains, being the sexy man, the sex appealing masculine man, the one with the woman, a great father, kick ass, intelligent. Same thing with the movie Four Brothers. You got these brothers, they call it Four Brothers, but Mark Wahlberg is the leader. He's the head of the pack. He's the brains. He's the muscle. And in every role that I see where hued men are in these movies, they are silly, goofy, unserious, low IQ, need to be pulled by the ear and held by the hand to be led. This is the same narrative I see everywhere. These commercials, I can sit and watch primetime TV for 2 hours, and every single commercial that is ran, I can break down and decode the subliminal message. The most important thing in the life of a human being is the things that you feed them when they are a child, when they are a baby. Before a child can speak or talk or anything of that nature, everything is visual. They begin to read the world. They begin to put locations on things as far as existence, being new to life, being new to the world on visuals. This is why this episode is named 12 Visuals, 12 Powerful Visuals to acclimate the proper image of the American man of a hue. Hued as in human being, a person of color. And I understand people get caught up when you say black or when you say colored and things of that nature. So I just say hue, or I say Afro-American. You know, I'm not, you know, I know we talk about a lot of ancestral genealogy, but the truth of the matter is I was born in America. I'm an American. Regardless of where my ancestors, my lineage leads me to, I am an American. That is my citizenship, right? It doesn't make me a coon. It doesn't make me a cornball or a Negro pen, as all these corny ass, these terms we come up with for people we don't think is black enough. And I always tell you, this platform is not meant for pro-black ideologies at all. I always tell people I am not pro-black, I'm pro-consciousness. I have a black consciousness about my life, the reality that I live, and things that I have to deal with. But we need to be mindful and careful of the things that we allow our children to watch on TV, even from cartoons. My children would all tell you, I didn't allow them to watch anything of a European image, white people, Marvel comics, DC. I didn't allow these things when they were young because they were too young to understand and break down the narrative that was being pushed, the subliminal message that they wanted them to eat. Is that a black man is not worthy of being a father. He's out of shape, doesn't know what he's doing, unintelligent, doesn't know how to lead, doesn't know how to solve problems. That's the biggest lie in the world. So what I've done, I've concocted 12 powerful visuals that I think is worthy of your child watching to acclimate the proper image. Now, here's the thing. I speak a lot about the system of white supremacy. And if you don't believe that the system of white supremacy is real or exists, then nothing that I have to say or any of my messages is for you. So these are for people who's going to reciprocate this, who's going to understand where I'm going with this. Because the bottom line is, it is absolutely mind-blowing at how I cannot see anything of a powerful image of a non-white man in the concept called America on TV, in commercials, even in sports. And I've been saying things for a long time. People think we really live in a post-racial society when it's not post-racial at all. Neely Fuller talks about in his book, The United Independent Compensatory Code, Counter-Racist. He said white supremacy goes through 4 stages. The first is establishment. The second is maintenance. The second is expansion. And the last but not least is refinement. The system of white supremacy is refined. The white supremacists you see of yesterday is not like the white supremacists of today. They're defined. They do things on paper. They do things in the media. They do things in the medium. And they do things in all 9 areas of people activity, which is economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. So I'm going to run down this list of movies and 12 visuals that I think is powerful for you to acclimate for your young Afro-American mind, the young Hued mind, so that they understand that when they get older and know that it's all a lie, because there's no balance. I have no issue looking at interracial couples on TV. I have no issue with looking at LGBT based couples on TV. But what I do have a problem with is when there's no balance. When you show a black man, an Afro-American man, a man of hue as one thing and one thing only, and you never see him in a position of power, that's the problem. So here's 12 that I want to present to you that I think will be of great benefit to you and your family. That's if you care about this. First of all, let's go look at I Am Legend. Features Will Smith. What this movie is about is like a post-apocalyptic breakout, I think, from a virus. It's a great movie, but in this movie, it portrayed Will Smith as an Afro-American man, as an original man, being a problem solver, knowing how to survive when there's no grocery stores open. The city is, I believe he was in New York. The city is literally destroyed, but he figured out how to house himself, how to generate power, how to maintain food. And he had an animal, you know what I mean? He had a German Shepherd, how he would go out and search for other survival and people that were alive. And before the movie ended, it even showed him saving himself of the better of humanity to carry on to come up with a cure for the biological agent that was turning people into zombies and literally destroying them, killing each other. Man eating zombies, brain looking for the zombies, I guess, as they say. That was showing an Afro-American man in his greatest proper image. The second, The Great Debaters, which features Denzel Washington. And I'm going to just tell you right now, Denzel Washington is my GOAT. Any movie, you've never, ever seen Denzel Washington play no bullshit role. Not ever, right? And I think a lot of his peers respect him for that. A lot of our brothers and sisters, which have been made to put on dresses, which have been made to act a certain way to get in Hollywood. And listen, I'm not knocking anybody. One thing about the code, it teaches you not to be critical of other people. This is VGQ, Victims Guaranteed Qualifications, which means people can live their life however they want to. But people, you know, if they get their check however they want to, yes, there could be moral things that you could question, things questionable morally. There could be some things that you can question as far as integrity. But hey, you know, if a person is sitting good in the bank and they got their bills paid and they living life, I'm not here to knock anybody, but at the end of the day, there is a certain thing called history. And once you're long gone from the planet, this is going to long outlast anything that you did. And then history is going to ask and have people asking, why did this individual put on the dress to gain success? What was it about black men putting on dresses and wigs to gain success? And Dave Chappelle recently said something as recent as a couple of days ago, you know, about the Cat Williams interview. And, you know, Cat went in on the black comedians, but he never went on the white comedians, which made a lot of sense. However, we need to understand that when you look at any movie from Denzel Washington, it's always been of upstanding, excellence, and intelligence. This movie, Great Debaters, not only features a positive, strong, powerful role of a black man in leadership, but his influence over black students going abroad about the nation and the country to battle Ivy League schools, white colleges, and the narrative and the belief was that black people were genetically inferior, not intelligent, we were moronic, and we were burdens and problems upon society. So that is a movie that I think that you and your family and your young children should watch and entertain. And it also shows young black men and women speaking very articulate, extensive vocabulary, and a great inventory of verbiage when expressing and articulating themselves. The great debaters. The next one, Coach Carter. Now, I've always been saying that sports is one of the biggest platforms where it has the greatest narrative, and they're separating black men from making legacies. They're destroying black athletes' legacies because it's all about a narrative, because the most important thing to them is history. I used to see the meme on social media all the time where they show the white boy with a headband with Thug Life on his stomach talking about 200 years. They would say this is Tupac, which, as funny as it sounds, that's a real reality that's probably going to take place. We won't be around to say that it ain't. That's why there's so much debate about the image of Jesus. And let me say this, since I am talking about image and visuals, black Christians and people who read the Bible, and if you say you are a believer, it is 2024. It is time to stop being cowardly and saying that Jesus' color does not matter. It does matter, because the very subject that I'm talking about right now, in portraying certain images based on color, it has a psychological effect on a particular group of people who behave and conduct themselves when they're around the power dynamic and how they carry themselves and how they see themselves in this world. So if Jesus was a man of color, stop saying his color don't matter. It does matter. It matters. Stop being cowardly. I'm sorry, that pisses me off. Jesus was a man of color. Stop saying his color don't matter when it says in the word was with God, and the word became God, and the word became flesh. It's the first chapter of John. If he became flesh, that means he had an image. Oh man, I ain't know that was gonna hit me like that. Stop being cowards and say his color don't matter when it does. Damn. Sorry. But Coach Carter features the presence of a strong black man over troubled youth and teen in the inner city for high school basketball. Now we know coaching, the paradigm of coaching has shifted and changed over time. Now, I tell people all the time, when you look at these programs with these young men, they don't want a strong alpha, masculine, heterosexual black man to have any influence over these young black men. So what do you see? Beta males. You know, you see women coaching them that are of the LGBT community. They just want them to shut up and dribble. But in this movie, it shows how he stood on his square. He was disciplined. He didn't allow the district to compromise anything that he felt that these boys needed to know, just big and beyond basketball. The community had a problem with him because he shut down games because they were not passing grades, right? These coaches are few far in between. But again, this is another visual that you and your children could watch to give them the proper acclimation of what a black man really is, who a black man really is, how a black man truly operates in his natural essence, in his natural state and form, period. Next, moving on. The Equalizer, and I say all of them. When I look at any movie from Denzel Washington with The Equalizer, like, dude is phenomenal. He can figure things out. He can, he can create a bomb. He can make a weapon out of nothing. He can kick like 7-9 people and they're standing around him in a circle. He's thinking. He utilizes electronics and technology. He communicates very eloquently, stays in shape, can handle firearms. You understand? If you can go watch Mission Impossible and John Wick, right, then you can damn sure sit down with your family and watch The Equalizer and any Denzel Washington movie, because this is critical. See, one thing that I always say about people of color, and especially when they had these gender reveal parties, which irk my nerves, because the gender is revealed, but the one thing you keep away from that child when they're born is the truth and knowledge of self. But we biologically reproduce our children and then hand them over to a society to raise them psychologically. That's ass backwards. It should not be like that. We should be the first teachers of our children and make sure that they get the proper image, and color does matter because it's visual. My daughter right now, and all my children will tell you, even the youngest one, she is color consciousness. Not ever has she been ashamed of her nappy hair, the features of her lips, the way her body is forming, which society says it's overweight, it's unattractive. I teach my daughter things now to be conscious of, because right now at her school system, these kids who do not look like her are already executing the code. She don't know it, but I'm teaching her this, and now she's starting to grasp the concept of it. But it's very critical what me and her mother allow her to watch on TV. Now, as she get older, hell, a lot of things, a lot of movies are not just going to be black based. And, I watch everything that I watch is not always black based, but if it's a constructive message in it that I could use to learn from and pass on to others, game on. So that is another thing that I suggest people with the Equalizer when it comes to Denzel Washington in all his movies. Man on Fire. I featured, it was another movie. He has The Book of Eli. Which I just mentioned, The Great Debaters. This dude has, what is his name? Roman J.S. Israel, the one where he was like a super intelligent attorney, but he was weird. So he has an array of work. Mo Better Blues with Spike Lee movie. I could just go on and on and on with Denzel Washington movies, man. Inside Man. What was the other one? I think it was called the one where he had his memory come back. He just has a great book of work. He has a great body of work. And Denzel Washington will always be that guy in my mind. So check out them Equalizer movies, man. Look at him in his excellence and his glory, as all black men should within themselves. The next one is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now we get into the animations. There was a lot of controversy, just like I think it was with the Princess Bride or something like that, a Walt Disney movie, The Princess Bride or The Beauty and the Beast. But the narrative was that for this woman to come up out, was it the Little Mermaid? Well, the Little Mermaid was black, but she wanted to be, live on land to chase a Mexican or a white king or prince. But again, it's narratives, right? Like the visual is good, but the narrative and the plot of the story, it does more damage than good to our young black girls, right? As if black men wasn't enough. And a side note, because years ago I got on top of this thing because my daughters, they had this thing for white boys and Eminem. I couldn't understand it. And light-skinned boys, I didn't understand it. So I was over the road one day and I was driving, and I used to listen to Warren Ballentine on Sirius Satellite Radio. And the lady called in. She was talking about all these programs that were coming on Nickelodeon. And then when I got off the road, I went home. I made time on purpose to sit and watch these programs, and I'll be damned, there it was. The seed had been planted, because every program that came on Nickelodeon, it was featuring either a white boy, a Mexican kid, or if it was a black kid, they were always lighter. There was never no dark skin. And all the black boys were corny, unserious, homosexual, stupid, acting like a goofball, dancing. And this is where my daughters begin to adapt the value and desire of a white man or Mexican man. Now, it is what it is. I truly don't believe love sees no color. Again, let me put out the disclaimer. I have nothing against interracial relationships. I truly believe that we're in a state of crises as far as a people. And sometimes society doesn't allow us to produce our best selves, and we're just not no good for each other. So when you necessarily see somebody of color with somebody who's not of the same ethnicity, that does not take away from their blackness, right? That just means that maybe that relationship works for them and they found what was best for them. So let me put that out there, because I don't want anybody to get this twisted, because I don't have a heart of hate of nobody. But Spider-Verse, I think, is a good movie for young black boys and girls to watch, because he's dealing with superpowers. Yeah, I watched it a little bit at times. He seems unserious, and sometimes he seems a little unaware and kind of discombobulated, but it's still showing him doing good things, solving problems, saving the planet, whatever the plot is, spider webbing flying through the sky. It still amazes the mind of a young child, but to see the image in color, it does wonders for the young black child, young Afro-American child, the young child of Hued. Luke Cage was one, as a grown man, I watched myself. I believe it's of the Marvel series, and Luke Cage is a man of color. He has particular type of powers. Now listen, some of these, I think, like the show like Black Lightning, the reason why I didn't feature that, and I think the young, what's the name of that one, young something, I know Black Lightning and young Adonis Adrian or something like that. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, it came on Netflix. The reason why I didn't feature those movies is because the narrative was they got their superpowers from somebody that was white. And you have to be mindful of that when they try to give us roles of superheroes and superpowers. It always goes back to we didn't have this natural superpower like Superman or, you know, the Green Lantern, people like that you see, or like He-Man, you know, the Masters of the Universe. There's always a narrative to where when it comes to us, it didn't come natural. It came from somebody white, and you got to be mindful of that. So this is why I did. Oh, Dion, Raising Young Dion, I think it was the name of the show on Netflix. So that's why I didn't feature those. But as far as Luke Cage, you know, he has, it's a black woman in there. You know, she's liking him, kind of like the Superman and Lois Clark story, Kent Clark and Lois Lane story. She's digging him, she's liking him. You know, she sees that he's kind of supernatural, handles, you know, solves problems, solves crimes. You know, he's valuing the community. And even though it's showcasing him having superhuman natural like powers, there's a lot of value in those series and in those episodes. And, you know, the villain that they showing, and he's also a man of color, but hey, that's to be expected when it comes to things of this nature, right? So Luke Cage is another one that I suggest, which is a powerful visual that I suggest you and your children sit down and watch. And I say that you should watch it with them because you have to explain what they are looking at so they don't get it twisted, right? The next one is The Hued. The reason why I chose The Hued, because The Hued shows just like that old New Edition song, Growing from Boys to Men. You know, it shows young black men in high school having a good time, not doing anything funny, you know what I'm saying, but chasing a girl, not a boy, you know, and always trying to get numbers, going to school dances, playing basketball, going to eat pizza. And then the movie transitioned from them going from high school into grown men where, you know, one guy was married, Ro was about to get married, I believe it was, and another guy was successful with a business, but they were still good friends, and it was in good fun where they would reflect back on their childhood. But it showed them growing from boys to men, but becoming constructive men, problem solvers in the community, you know, flashing back, dancing to old school songs. This is the greatness of us. And then holding the brother accountable for not being ready to get married on his wedding day, rather than encourage him to go back out in the streets, be a player, you know, chase the hoes, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's a movie of good constructivity. And at the end, it shows a black man and a black woman getting married, right? Subliminal messages, loving one another again. There's nothing corny about black men and women marrying each other. Black men and women of hue, Afro-American women and men coming together, getting married and starting families. So I think The Hued is a good one. It's a great movie, great entertainment. You know, sometimes it might even reflect back on some of these modern day kids' experiences going through high school, liking a girl or having a fight, you know, having a fight with a bully. So I think it's fresh. It's a fresh, fun-filled, great, inspirational, everything goes right type of movie, The Hued, which is one of my favorite movies of all times. Now, bringing it home, Malcolm X. Now, this movie might be, you got to understand, these kids are super smart and intelligent. They pick up on so much. Now, this movie is long. Malcolm X is well over 2.5 hours long. And it's one, again, this is another movie that's on my top movies of all time list. And the reason why I say that you should watch this, because it shows what our reality is as black men in America dealing with racism, white supremacy. As Malcolm X dealt with it, so did his father deal with it, and it shows some of the tragic events of what happened with his father. It showed how mental illness is induced in his mother and generations abroad, and then how he began to adapt to the quote unquote the nigger culture, wearing those clown suits, going to ballroom dances, chasing women, booze, alcohol in the street, which a lot of black men could relate to that. Then it shows how when he's in the darkest place in his life, at the bottom, being incarcerated, where he met Brother Baines, that changed his life and introduced him to the teachings of Islam and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he transitioned from going from that nigga to God. Stopped conking his hair, stopped eating pork, started reading the Quran, became a powerful speaker until a lot of it began to go awry. But this is still a great movie where it shows a black man transitioning from what America made him into what becoming civilized made him become as a final product, before he was unfortunately assassinated in New York City at the Ottoman ballroom. Long live Malcolm X, you know what I'm saying? And also rest in peace to Brother Dexter King, who passed yesterday, the youngest child of Martin Luther King, a part of that royal legacy. It's unfortunate he passed from colon cancer. So my blessings and condolences to the King family. Moving along to the next one. All right. See You Yesterday. This is a Spike Lee joint that features 3 young Afro-American children who are science prodigies, geniuses, masters of technology, and they were able to build a time machine out of a backpack, because in the movie the brother of the science protege, the girl, got killed, got swept up by some like intergalactic entity, and so they created a time machine to go before that incident happened to go save him. Now again, the purpose of me mentioning this one is dealing with teenage kids. I think they're like pre-10. They might be like maybe 10, 11, 12, maybe teenage or not. But again, it shows them doing something constructive. It doesn't show them playing ball. It doesn't show them fighting. It doesn't show them busting cars out of Kias. It shows them using their brain. The room is set up like a science lab, and being passionate whenever they had a mistake and trying to make this time machine work accordingly. So this is what you want to show your children to influence their path, the direction of thinking, the thought process, right? Movies and visuals are just that powerful. Now I know a lot of people like, that's a little bit too much, and a lot of people are on this, well, I want my children to know all cultures and stuff like that. And I always question, why do you say that you want your children to know all cultures and you don't even know your native tongue? You don't even know where you come from, and you rocking an English name. So when you talking about being multicultural, I absolutely don't get it, because you ain't finna go in the hood and find a store, a liquor store, a gas station, a retail store. None of it's going to be co-owned by somebody black and Asian, somebody black and Arab, right? And I guarantee you, if your child do have friends of other ethnicities and other cultures, I guarantee you one thing for sure: they can speak their language. You only speak English. So that's something I think we need to be aware of and really get on tune and get on the frequency of really understanding our origin in this world. So See You Yesterday features 3 young Afro-American children who are highly intelligent, highly smart, that create a time machine out of a backpack to go save a sibling. Pop that one in, check it out. It's a Spike Lee joint, yeah. The Boondocks. Now, I know a lot of people like the Boondocks. Now, listen, let me tell you something. My children are all grown, but I promise you, when I first seen the Boondocks, I said, you know what? I'm going to show my children this. They got to watch the Boondocks. Now, there is profanity, and the Boondocks do have particular scenes that are in the cartoon. But listen, I'm the type of parent, and I think I believed I made an episode, is I don't hide nothing or shield my children from nothing in the world. They're going to see it anyway. So if they're going to be exposed to anything, I'd rather be in their presence to explain to them what this is, why that is, or what just happened, right? So the Boondocks was a cartoon that me and my children used to sit up, and we used to be on the floor just rolling. But there was a lot of jewels in the Boondocks. Now, a lot of it was satirical. A lot of it was joking and stuff like that. And shout out to Aaron Gruder. But it had messages in it. So I wanted my children to value the message. I always say the 2 characters, Riley and Huey remind me of my son. Huey reminds me of my son Snoop, who is older, more reserved, more into books. Riley reminded me more of my son Quentin, more on the rah-rah side, that just, nigga, you gay style, because he used to say that all the time when he was young. So it used to remind me of my own 2 boys watching this show. However, there was just a lot of things about Huey's character where he was always into computers. He studied history. He was of the pro-black element. He was into his diet, things of that nature. And Riley was just like the balance. He was just more like street, but they were conscious of the reality. They were conscious of black people like Uncle Ruckus. They were conscious of people like, what's the dude's name? The fat dude name, and the rich guy that stayed in Woodcrest. I can't think of his name. But the one that had the 2 nephews that thought they were black. But I thought that was a great show that you should show your kids. If they're going to look at any type of animation, let them look at that. I'm pretty sure they watch Family Guy. I'm pretty sure they watch South Park, Rick and Morty, or Bob's Burgers. They damn sure can watch the Boondocks. Listen, I'm not telling you to bludgeon your children with anything just all black, but give it a little balance. But make sure they're watching something of themselves to see themselves, the black man, in his proper image. Right? Right. All right. Last 2 coming up. Queen and Slim, which this is another one that's on my all-time movie list. Why Queen and Slim? It's a long movie. A lot of people said it was boring, but if you read the ISIS papers, this movie, you can decode everything in this movie. Shout out to Lena Waithe and Mastuka. I butcher her name every time. But was it Leon Lyons or something like that? I just be going blank sometimes. But this is an excellent movie to watch when it comes to what y'all always call black love. Living in a society in a day and time where the Afro-American man, the Hued man, the original man is not valued, especially of his own woman, especially of his own community. If you go look at the movie promo picture, it shows Queen and Slim sitting in front of an old school car. I believe it's a Cadillac. Queen is sitting on that car, and the way she looks at him, upon him, is of great value. Even in the movie, she would always make the gesture and just look at Slim because she valued him so much. Now, they were on the run from the law because at the beginning of the movie, you know, he got into a tussle, verbal altercation with an officer, and they eventually got the tussling. After she got out the car, now it does, that part of the movie kind of makes you be like, well, you know what, you kind of brought that on yourself. But they shot the cop, right? And they had to go on a run, and they had to run through a couple of states from like Ohio all the way down to New Orleans. However, it just was a lot of jewels in that movie in the talking parts. When she said it should be a crime to call a black woman crazy, or when she said, I don't believe in God, and then towards the end of the movie, she starts to pray. These are feelings that black people feel every day, both black men and women. Now, towards the beginning of the movie, Slim was a little weak. He was a little soft, but towards the end, he was strong. Even carried Queen after she was already deceased into his own demise, into his own death. Right? Let's say if you're going to die honorable. But there's a lot of things in this movie that could be handed over as jewels for your, and I would say this is probably more like your teenage kids, maybe 13, 14, 15, maybe young adolescent years. It's a great movie to watch to implement the real image and power of the original man and the woman for us to be seen in the correct light. Because right now, media is bludgeoning us to be so confused, and we're adapting to cultures, and we're having values that are really foreign and alien to us, that is just incorrect and improper. Again, it's the balance. If you're going to show everybody else in their highest form, whether it's love and family or success, it has to be the same for a black man. Right? And there's a list that I can run down to you right now and tell you that if you pay attention, you will see all the things that I'm talking about right now in this video. And you're going to be like, you know what? He did mention that. Now I see it because it's so blatant. But people are so oblivious to it. They don't care. They think it's just entertainment. And that's the saddest part about it. So Queen and Slim is one that I think you should check. And I think it shows a lot of value between a black man and a black woman in the worst position. And they stood strong, and they went through all types of obstacles. And, they were problem solvers. They had to figure it out. So I think that's just something that is a great jewel, a great visual jewel to watch. Now, here's the one that I'm going to leave. Oh, you know what? People, I left one off the list. So another one that I want to present to y'all. And check this out. I done got caught slipping. And I believe that might be a little bit more than 12. But so what? All right. So I'm going to create that one right there. But I got to bring this on. Hoodlum with Lawrence Fishburne. Why do I talk about this one? I bring up this one because when I ask the average black man, Afro-American man, original man, Hued man, when I ask him what's his favorite gangster movie, oh man, Scarface. And I'm like, Scarface. It's just like what De La Soul said, Colombians don't like us. Colombians ain't never ran with your crew. Colombians don't care what y'all niggas do. Or did he say Italians? But Italians don't like y'all like that. If you ever seen The Godfather, he called you animals. Take that down there, let them kill each other. Let the blacks, the monkeys, the dogs kill each other. They're nobody anyway. Right? But this is the movie you say that you adhere to when it comes to something that makes you feel like a gangster. It's Scarface or Goodfellas. But then when I mentioned, hey, you ever seen Hoodlum? No, I ain't never seen that. Hoodlum shows the community not allowing the Italians to take over the Harlem community, which we know today Harlem eventually got taken over. Gentrification takes place all across the country. But it was a stand-up movie that showed us in a position of resilience, power, countering any attack, and sometimes on the offensive. And I just thought it was so dope. I thought it was just excellent the way that movie portrayed us in such a light. It was respectable. There was self-respect amongst the gangsters and in the communities. Right? The queen was well protected in that movie. That's my favorite gangster movie of all time, is Hoodlum, because that's the way I see myself, and that's the way all men of color, all men of hue, original men in the concept called America, that's how we really are. We not punks. We not soft. We typically naturally are not out of shape. We're not scary or fearful, right? And I ain't just talking about with each other. I'm talking about with, as y'all say, the ops. We're stand-up individuals. We're great fathers. We're great husbands. I ain't gonna mention nothing about being great athletes. We know this already. Dancers and singers, we know this already. But we are responsible for portraying the proper image of us in a society that wants to pretty much eliminate us from who we really are. Last but not least, ragtime. I would probably put that up there with Hoodlum. This is ragtime. Now, this is a jewel many people do not even know nothing about. I mention to people all the time, hey, you ever seen Ragtime? They be like, Ragtime? I never even heard of it. That's sad. This movie came out in 1981, and it was a novel that was written in 1975 by E.L. Doctorow. And it's talking about America pre-World War I in Harlem, New York. And the movie it portrays a white family of wealth, them finding a black baby who the father and the main character was Cole House Walker, right? He was a well-educated black man in his community, played in the jazz band in Harlem, successful. But the whole thing was he was able to purchase a Model T Ford, and he parked it one day, and these white firemen, they saw it and felt some type of way, and they defaced it. And when he wanted justice, he couldn't get it. So guess what happened? It was Django before Django. There were bombings that took place across the city, shootings that took place across the city, kidnappings that took place across the city. They even had a part in there where they sent the Negro minister, or civil rights leader, to talk some sense into him about being a part of the good black folk. But he stood on business, as y'all say. He stood on business and created a group of gangsters. Now, he knew he was going to die, but he made sure that before he died, that promises would be made for the men who stood up and took that stance with him. You can't even get a black man to stand up today, even over a microphone when it's put in his face, to tell the truth. We think we're so advanced because of technology, cell phones, cars, and all kind of stuff, but we ain't even advanced in our greater humanity, in my opinion. So eventually, he was led to his demise, and he stood on something that he died for. It's called Ragtime. Now, again, that's a very long movie. I believe it's like 2 hours and 31 minutes long, 2 hours and 21 minutes long. I think it might even be 3 hours. It's been a while, but it's a 1981 jewel and a classic. And it's a movie that inspires me and it touched me. So that concludes the list. Again, the purpose is to understand we need to give this thing balance. Can't worry about Prime, Netflix, or any major streaming platform or commercial TVs. It's not, we can't expect them to portray us the right way, because it's all about narratives. It's all about narratives. The one thing Dr. Umar Johnson said years ago that I agree with, and it stuck with me, is that they are on a campaign to eliminate and exterminate the heterosexual black man in mind and in body. So it's almost like we don't exist, like the ghost of society. So I want you to take that list, man. Check those movies out, but make sure you sit down and you watch these with your children, because it's just that critical. You are what you eat. You raise up in a child the way they should go, they will never go astray. Everything that my father, my mother taught me as a child, yeah, we strayed away from it. Yeah, we thought it was crazy. As many children do, they don't think their parents know what they're talking about, but eventually we make our way back home. Eventually you will come to that point and say, you know what? Mom and dad was right. Trust me on this. It worked for my children. I love the consciousness that they have in life. I love the self-love that they have for themselves as who they are. My son Quentin, black as hell. You can't tell him that black skin is ugly. His hair is knotty. When we first got to his high school, and them kids used to run up to me and tell me, your son looks like Kodak Black. I'm like, who the hell Kodak Black? But he'll tell you, he'll twist that knotty hair to where he had everybody at his high school wanting to have knotty hair, even the white boys. The power of installing the proper image of a black man when they are young goes a long way. We have enough confused black men and women out here as it is now, and it's sickening as hell. I just got to the point I don't even talk about real issues with my own because they can't eat that diet because they've been made so baby-like in the mind. They don't understand what's really going on out here in the world and not paying attention to the things coming down the pipe, because guess what? Black culture, the number one thing that people do is show off to other black people. And what can you learn from black people? What can the world learn from black people? Answer: absolutely nothing. We haven't proved that we can solve problems without creating problems. This is the place where we bring sexy back to the everyday hardworking men and women who impact your life within close proximity. We want to rise above this madness, which is called black culture. And I encourage you each and every day to understand this one important fact. The biggest mistake that you can make in life is to think that you have time. Peace.
Equality versus equity. Equality means every child gets a pair of shoes. Equity means every child gets a pair of shoes that fit. That means every school district has to meet every student's individual needs.
I'm Jerry O'Green with the Black Student Advocate. We advocate for black employees and black students within the K-12 school districts. We hold school districts accountable to make sure that black students and employees are in a fair and equitable